All right, today is the second of our 2.5D platformer category, and today we're talking Tomba. Pete, why don't you give us some initial thoughts?
Okay, I'm not going to mince any words. I really love this game. There's no game like it, really, at least not one that I've played. So there's action and platforming and RPG elements and racing, and a jungle boy with pink hair. So there's a lot going on in this game. But to be fair, there's probably two major issues that kind of keeps this game out of my top 5 or 10 or whatever of all time. The biggest thing is just how darn confusing it is at times. And so we'll talk about that throughout the episode, I'm sure. And the second thing is I really feel like towards the end of the game, it feels rushed and like it's just not as detailed and frankly cool as kind of the first half of the game. So those are my initial thoughts.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, so I also like this game a lot. It's very unique, and I think that we should give it credit for that. Um, like Pete mentioned, it has all these different elements. I am a big fan of RPGs, and I liked the RPG elements in this game and how it was used in the 2.5D platformer, without being a traditional RPG. I thought that was really cool. But the game did frustrate me to a high level at times, not super frequently, but the frustration was there, and we will discuss that.
All right, yeah, and I will just briefly say that those are cogent comments by my brothers there, but I had never really played this before. Not even the demo, which we will talk about very famously later on. But I liked it. It is good. It is unique. It does have a lot of good elements. It is a lot of fun at times, but it is a little confusing on what to do and where to go at times. But overall, really fun. Again, like not overly difficult, but not simplistic either. So, something we're seeing in these 2.5D categories. So, and I'll keep it at that for now, and we'll go from there. All right, for those that don't know, I'm Anthony, and along with my two brothers, Pete and Tom, this is Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. Here's what we do with this show. Each of us picks a game that fits within a genre or category, and for the first three episodes of that grouping, we discuss the games one by one, in detail, talking about the story, gameplay, effects on the gaming world, and more. The fourth episode of each grouping is our Brodown episode, where we have a courtroom style debate, each of us defending the game we chose while attacking the other two and ultimately declaring a winner. All right, just a little basics on Tomba before we get into the discussion. Tomba was developed by Whoopee Camp and published by Whoopee Camp in Japan and the rest of the world by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was available in North America on July 16th, 1998. And then in 2024, versions were made for the Nintendo Switch, PS5, Windows, etc. So, all right, let's get to it. So, I guess to start off, what version did everyone play? Since I just mentioned a couple of different versions.
I played the new version, which felt very much like an old version with a few, additions, but not really to the actual core game.
Quality of life improvement.
Yeah, I guess stuff like that.
Yeah, I
I
played.
also I
Yeah,
also
go ahead.
played that version on
And
on the Switch.
okay, and Tom, you played on PlayStation or the Switch?
PS5.
Okay. And I played the PlayStation version, the original PlayStation version.
The demo or the full game?
No, the full game. I played the full game. And
'Cause,
I have stats to back that up, and later on we'll talk about them.
'cause
But
we did have the demo
yeah,
growing up.
get into that because that's sort of
the introduction.
Yeah, Pete, you kind of suggested that this game for this category, right? So, and I think it was born from that demo.
Yeah. So I remember playing the demo a lot. Honestly, I was, around 10 years old at around that time. So I don't think I ever completed the demo. So, you
If I
know,
remember correctly, it there's a lo it's a pretty extensive demo.
yes.
Like it's not like a, half a level kind of thing.
No, I think it goes through like through the watchtower up to like the dwarf village. And it's like
Yeah.
basically just that part of the game. There's nothing that's removed for the demo.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always was just intrigued by it, even though it was challenging for 10-year-old me.
Hmm.
And maybe part of that was just the vibrant colors and, you know, Tomba with the pink hair and all that.
Yeah.
But so I always kind of like this game. I actually bought Tomba and Tomba 2 from the PS3 virtual store, whatever they call
Yeah,
that.
it was available on that too. I didn't do that in the intro, but it did come out on the PS store for a while, virtual store, whatever.
Yeah. So
I think in 2011.
okay. I think
Yeah.
maybe 2 years ago I bought them just in case like they shut that down. I
Mm,
wanted to have it, but I never got around to playing it
yeah.
They
until
did
now.
shut that down.
Oh, they
Hmm.
did. Okay.
Very prescient move there. Not that it mattered, because then it came
Yes.
out for everything else anyway. So,
I'm pretty sure
that,
Tomba 2 is also coming out like in a
yeah,
similar fashion.
yeah. Well, I'll say this. We don't usually start here, but I really enjoyed like cutscenes were very cinematic and graphically pleasing. I would say in this. So, while the gameplay and the look in the game is fun too, and we'll get into that. The cinematics are very good, and it kind of reminded me of. I mean, no one's gonna really get this reference, but I did. Like, it reminded me of the cutscenes in Grim Fandango. Like, it had that sort of it was that exact sort of animation where it almost
Uh,
looked like an old, like a real, but like a real to real. I don't know. It just sort of looked like old timey, but also kind of new.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said it looks more like an anime or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like an older cartoon,
an older cartoon, but like from
but
the
nice.
90s,
That was
maybe.
nicely
Like,
done. Yes.
yeah, not like
Yeah,
very old.
yeah, but yeah, that was a cool inclusion.
Hmm.
Just because of the limitations in the PS1 graphics, you could
Yeah,
like see what it was meant to look like.
right. And there was a couple, but there was like the cartoony cutscenes, but then there was also like when you would catch one of the evil pigs, and the particular level would be released from the spell, and there would be a short
Right.
quick scene of that, like cutscene. Like those were like that was those were the scenes that reminded me very much of the Grim Fandango kind of animation. The other animation, you're right, is more like an anime or a traditional cartoon. Both were
Yeah.
cool though.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I thought that was also cool. Every time you kind of removed one of the curses, and then they showed the area in that cinematic way.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's kind of like a funny game, like not like laugh out loud or telling jokes, but like just the way the characters look and like the way they interact. Just Tomba himself is sort of like a feral child, basically, or like a caveman or feral child. So it's interesting there too. I don't know. It's just a lot of cool characters. And then there's the 100-year-old man, the 1,000-year-old man, the 10,000-year-old man, and the million-year-old man. Like all of that's kind of funny.
Yeah, and they're
And
they're
just
they're kind of funny, like they're bickering a little bit.
yeah. Well, just we'll do it now. Spoiler warning. For the rest, we'll talk about the story or maybe some interesting gameplay elements that you might not want to get ruined if you do want to go ahead and play this game. But it's, you know, several years old now. But spoiler warning anyway. There you go. All right, let's continue.
I don't know. So just from the very beginning, like the music is great, and then the vibrant colors, and you're jumping and you're climbing, you're hitting these pigs, and then a few minutes into the game, you could sort of jump backwards into the background,
Hmm.
right? And then you're kind of going back the way you came, but on the background lane, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
and that's where
just
the 2.5D comes in
yes,
here.
yes,
It's
but just
very much a 2.5D, which is cool.
Yeah, it
'Cause
really utilized the going back and forth between the on the Z axis, I guess.
yeah. Which is it's cool. And again, I'll make the comment early, but I made late for our last episode. It's like it sort of was a good bridge between the 2D world of games and the 3D world, whereas some of the 3D games that had come out were very hard to control and yeah, sometimes frustrating. Whereas things like this were not nearly as much, but still utilized some of that 3D appeal, which so it was a good blend.
So what do you guys make of the some of the gameplay? Um, Enemies could get annoying at times. The pigs were relatively easy, but then
Yeah.
you like once you get into like the crabs and I don't know, sometimes there are situations where I was getting hit like two or three times kind of in a few seconds.
Yeah, I kind of found that I don't know if it's the hit boxes or whatever it is. Like, so okay, so the main gameplay was you could swing something at the enemies, like get like a boomerang, and you get other weapons, a grapple they called it, and which is just sort of like a thing that extends, like maybe like a spiked ball or something, but whatever. And it had a particular name, and now I'm forgetting it. But anyway, like those would
Grap
hit
Grapple
what?
sounds right.
No, grapple was the grapple.
Oh, the blackjack?
Yeah, blackjack. There we go. Um, and then later you can combine them via one
Yeah.
of the characters, and it's called something else, but that's a cool weapon. But
Yes.
anyway, you could hit enemies with that, but you don't really kill them with that. You have to kill them by jumping on top of them and then throwing them. And like I felt sometimes where I would be jumping on top of them, but it would register as me jumping slightly on the side of them, and I would get hit by that. So I don't know if that's just me being cranky and curmudgeon-y or if it was really happening, but I kind of felt I was experiencing that.
Yeah, a little bit. I feel that's valid. But actually, so the weaker items you kind of had to do, the weaker weapons you had to do that, where you kind of hit them, stun them, and then jump on them. But later in the game, you can basically knock them out with the stronger weapons. I'm pretty sure. But the combat to me wasn't the trickiest part. There
Combat
was,
wasn't really the highlight of the game.
it wasn't the highlight, but it was still kind of fun. I felt in a way, jump on the pig and throw them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there were
it was cool
situations.
how it like built up like the level. Like anytime you killed like the pig, it was like the like red or something.
Yeah, so that was one little unique, interesting thing. There was
Yeah,
like this three different
I guess the enemy types or something.
yeah, yes, experiences to gain.
Yeah.
Can you get into that a little bit more? Because I noticed like when you would throw an enemy, it would be like a bar at the bottom that was a similar color as them, but I never knew what it did.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, you get different. I don't know if this was AP, but you get like AP, which is adventure points, and there's three different colored experience points: red, blue, and green. And depending on what type of enemy you killed, you would get experience for one of those three colors. And then once you maxed out that, I think there was like 10 levels for each color. Once you max them out, then you could use special jewels, like special items that you would find in the game. So I assume you didn't find any of those, Ant.
No.
Or maybe you did and you just
Ma-
didn't kind of realize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So the jewel, well, just to get into it right now, since there's only three, the jewel of fire, the red one, that kind of created a fireball around you.
Oh no, I got that one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you needed a certain amount. Like some early on when I got it, it said I didn't have enough experience, but then later
Hmm.
on I got it.
Right.
And then there
Okay.
was a blue one that I didn't get.
Yeah, so that was similar to the fire one, but it made like bubbles around you, and then you could
Yeah.
also use it underwater.
Hmm.
And then the green one was the Jewel of Wind, which kind of gave you like a almost like you when you jumped, you kind of went into like a wind current to move
Mm.
farther or something.
Yeah.
So those were pretty handy
Yeah.
Yeah,
in certain parts of the
right.
game, which is another cool thing. Like I think certain parts of the map, certain parts of the game called for different strategies
Yeah.
in a way.
I remember when so I was using that fire one pretty extensively, especially in that jungle area.
Yes.
And then there's the part where you have to like you have to swim after you learn how to swim. So I was
Hmm.
jumping into the water with the fire active and I
Oh
was
yeah.
dying and I didn't know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. You have
Well,
to
that was a little annoying, that
It
aspect
was.
of it, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
so it's funny. I didn't get the other two. I got the fire one, and the only time I used it was in the haunted mansion. There's like a wall of like hay that you can burn through.
Oh yeah.
I that was like literally the only time. I never used it in battle or against like or just traversing a level.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do have. I mean that event is. I'm pretty sure isn't mandatory, but
Right.
you do have to use it there for the
Yeah.
hay.
So an interesting thing for the listeners that may not know, this game is made up of 130 events. And it's sort of like side quests without being in like a big open world where you could choose where to go. And some of these events were obviously required to progress and obviously and eventually finish the game, but a lot weren't.
Yeah,
So,
I think the count is 57 are primary.
oh, okay. So there is quite a lot. And some of them are just really simple. It's like someone will say something and like you'll have an item to give them and then that'll clear that event. And others are much more extensive, but it's that was a cool aspect of it. I thought that was cool to
I
throw into a
agree.
platformer like that.
It
That
was
made it really interesting.
it was so cool, and every time
Yeah.
a new event popped up, it was like exciting.
Yeah, and it did it somewhat like cartoonishly, cinematically, like by like a like the name of the event would pop up onto the screen and like everything else would freeze and it would be like a little jingle when it
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
So like
And then
that
when
was
you
cool.
the jingle when you cleared the event was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish like in real life anytime like I do something good that jingle could play. But anyway, just going back real quick to the Jewel of Fire. I was with you, Tom. I used it in the jungle, the Masakari jungle,
Yeah, that was one of the
primarily.
toughest like enemy portions of the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
You know, outside of like the boss battles.
Yay!
Do you want to get into the boss battle since you mentioned them?
Yay!
Should we give a little background on
Yeah,
the
the
story
game.
Yeah.
first? Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
story, and we could. So the story's not too. If one of you guys want to go, go ahead. I feel like I give the
Yeah,
story
all
run.
right.
Go ahead, Tom. Yeah,
Well, let me take a stab at it. I wasn't
yeah.
really prepared for this one.
It's such a deep story.
I know.
So
So basically, Tomba has a gold
Bra
watch
bracelet.
bracelet
Yeah,
that
from.
belonged to his grandfather, and it was stolen by these evil pigs. And so basically, he wants to get it back, and we find out why the evil pigs want gold
Mhm.
items later on, which we don't have to tell, like spoil right now. But so anyway, these it was 8 evil pigs, right?
Well, you think
And
it's
then
seven,
plus,
and then there's one
right?
more.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, they end up basically cursing the whole land that the game is comprised of. Yeah, so all the areas, have the effects of these spells as you go through it, and then you need to collect these evil pig bags to capture the evil pigs in. Yeah, and then as you capture the pigs, as we mentioned earlier, the effects of that specific pig spell will be dispelled from the land.
Yeah, so that's a good rundown, and this sort of follows Klonoa, and I'll have to use this phrase again. Maybe it'll end up on a t-shirt, but it really is like you go out to get your pizza, and then this whole big thing happens, and you're breaking spells. So in this case, it was trying to get back your stolen gold bracelet. So I guess it's a little bit more important than getting your pizza, but still, it's Tomba found himself in a much bigger war than he initially thought.
Yes. And both Tomba and Klonoa have like, the grandfather presence. Well,
Yes. Yeah.
to the story, which is
Right, right,
interesting.
right. Yeah. They were following a formula, I guess.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of the evil pig boss battles?
I
Good,
loved
bad?
it. I loved it because it was unique and it wasn't like jump like I don't know, like so many platformers jump on this boss's head 3 times to beat them. So
Yeah,
I just thought it was so cool, and it really created these moments because like that last one, that eighth one. So just a little background. There's so you have to get the bags in certain areas, and then that will open up the portal in another part of the game where you go in and actually fight this pig. And each pig had like a specific weapon, like or item or spell that they could do. Like one would throw boulders, one would have like electric that or lightning that they would cause to go on the platforms and stuff. So your objective was to jump on them and throw them into the spinning pig bag. And each level, each little boss area was a little bit different. So you could literally jump on them once, get them in the bag, and be done with it, or like a one-shot kill, quote unquote. Or you could take 20 times and have to avoid all of their damage the whole time and then eventually throw them into the bag. So I just thought that was so cool. And it was awesome because that last one, like that eighth one, the extra one, like I really did like I was gonna say inside joke, Eli Manning, and throw him right into the bag like across the screen, and it was just so awesome.
Basically, anytime we're throwing anything in any context, we say Eli Manning.
Yeah. The
Yeah, I was saying that too.
yeah,
Actually,
the background of that story is you
Yeah.
don't need to know, but it's just
Just
funny. He was a quarterback in the NFL for those that really don't know.
I don't know. Getting to the last boss, that was the lamest one, I thought, which was very disappointing. Because I, like you, generally liked the boss battles a lot.
Mhm.
But that one, like, he really didn't attack you. He just kind of froze you. So it was more
Yeah,
annoying than like
right.
it was very hard to die against him.
Yeah, he would like shoot something out and then freeze you. So theoretically, like you wouldn't be able to get away from it, but it didn't always hit you.
No, it very rarely hit you.
Yeah.
It
So
just always stunned you.
right. The trick there was you had to jump on him as soon as he appeared.
Yeah,
Because
you
like
really
they
had
would
to anticipate. Yeah.
yeah, because what they did was sort of not turn invisible, like disappear and then reappear, all of them. And but for that particular one, he could also freeze if you kind of gave him a half a second. So but yeah,
Yeah.
I thought they were good. I mean, we could talk more specifically about like not each one, but like ones that stood out.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But just going back to the last one, also I don't know if you guys noticed, but the song that was playing was different. So all the other ones had the same song, which I also
mm,
really liked a lot.
yeah,
And then the last boss had this like I think it was supposed to be like a more intense,
yeah,
but it was not as good.
didn't hit
yeah.
as hard.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked yeah, so just to agree, I mean, I thought it was a cool concept for the boss battles, and they were all like obviously kind of similar, but added in new elements to switch it up a little bit. There was the one I don't remember exactly what pig it was, but there was a lot of those basically those things that you can swing on that you so when you jump you grab it and you swing on it.
mm,
So like it kind of got in the way when you
yeah,
were trying to jump on the pig, but then you end up like locking
yeah.
onto this
Mm.
branch and you end up swinging and you don't want to. That one was a little annoying.
Was that the one that threw the one that had the boulder was the I think the toughest one because it was also like a very skinny
It
area
was
that
very
you
vertical. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah,
very vertical. That to me was the hardest of the pigs.
yeah. And the boulder would like break apart and you get hit with the little
Yeah.
shrapnel, right? Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
that was the hardest one for me too.
Yeah, and that was like early on. That was like
It
I don't
was,
know.
yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
the third one or something that you would come across or something like that. But it was yeah, that one really stood out as a little bit annoying.
In some of the boss battles, the bag was just kind of rotating on
Yeah.
an axis or whatever.
Right.
And other times it was moving. So in that one, it was
Right.
moving up and down and rotating, which
Yes, right.
so that
Y-
also added
Yes, that was tough.
difficulty. But yes, like some of them took me one try, like you said, I kind of got lucky, did it in a one shot kill. Other times took me maybe 6 or 7 tries,
Hmm.
probably within that range. So I
Yeah,
thought that was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
thought it
had the
was
same
fun.
experience.
And just even like the little animation when that you threw them in the bag and it would be like a Looney Tunes cartoon where they'd be like
Yeah.
pushing on the inside of the bag and then like
Yes.
finally they would like just be, stopped by oh, so good.
Yeah. The first time that happened, I expected it to break out. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
we probably
Yeah.
have to do it 3 times, like every
Right,
other old
right.
game.
Yeah. So no, that was I love that because that was unique. Not overly hard, but not overly easy. It was just like perfect.
Yeah, it was cool. Like when you land on them, like when you jump on them and you get them in your clutch. You could kind of like not throw immediately or throw immediately. So you kind of like
Yeah,
have
there was some skill involved, but
another element of
yeah.
Yes.
decision making there, which was cool.
Yeah, but so that's sort of the battling portion of it, but it is the platforming, and there's a lot of areas to jump on and figure out where to jump. That haunted mansion level, you have to figure out also which way to move the camera to jump onto different
That was
portion.
annoying.
por- It was at first, but then I really wound up liking that level a lot.
The Haunted Mansion for me was that aspect of it was really cool, like the 2.5D, where you
Yeah.
kind of went all around the mansion
Yeah,
basically,
exactly. Yeah.
which was really cool. But there's just so many doors there, and you have to
Yeah.
keep coming back to there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like
And
a
like,
central part. Yeah.
yes, and trying to remember what door you have to go in, and then sometimes like you kind of knew what door it was, but you couldn't remember how to get there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
It
yeah,
became pretty annoying.
yeah. It all looked very similar, and yeah, like you said, there were so many doors, and then there was the two that had the laughing and crying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Speaking of, that was a little annoying to me, the laughing and crying thing.
Yeah,
Especially
yes.
before you get the mysterious mushroom where you could kind of do it on cue.
yeah,
Yeah.
When you had to actually go to that level, get the mushroom, and then get out and do what you had to do. That was a little annoying.
Yeah. So you had to go to the mushroom forest, and some mushrooms kind of made you instead of when you would try to attack, it would make you laugh instead, and other mushrooms would make you cry instead. So you weren't
Yeah.
able to attack as you were navigating back to
yeah. And then
the haunted
sometimes,
mansion.
like just randomly when you were walking, you would start crying or laughing,
Yeah.
Right, right.
or like like when you're trying to jump, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you start crying.
Yeah, like you said,
Graphically, that
if it
level was cool.
yes,
Like
exactly.
it had like the laughing and crying flowers and all of that. And it was
Oh,
just,
that one.
yeah, no, it was unique and a lot of platforming in that part, but it was just what you had to do. I mean, it was, it kind of created little mini puzzles because it wasn't just the doors with the crying or laughing faces on them. There were certain people that would say like there's that part, the charity something where one of the guys is like, oh, I'm not gonna let you through. Don't cry about it, and then you
Yeah,
cry and he
that
lets
was
you
pretty
through.
obvious.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I know, but it's
yeah.
So anyway,
That was Charity Square, right?
Charity
Was it?
Square, yeah.
Yeah, but the Haunted Mansion, I just wish, like you said, it wasn't so central. Like it became annoying because you had to keep going back there and finding the right door. To me,
I will say one of the other more annoying parts where I probably lost the most lives was on the Windy Mountain thing.
yeah, Stormy Mountain.
Stormy Mountain where there was one platforming part where the until you defeat the evil pig that has cast this wind spell on that level, you have a constant, no, I won't say breeze, wind blowing you that you have to contend with while you're fighting and platforming it. And there's one platforming section where you have to do three like jumps to the like right and upwards with like enemies coming that is just very
Oh yeah, that
difficult
was near
with
the end. Yeah,
yeah,
of
right
that
before
part.
yeah, exactly. So like that was just very frustrating.
Yeah, and
I mean, it created a good challenge, which
yes.
whatever, but yeah.
So one of the things in general that I don't like about video games is when I first approached that part of the game, I was doubting whether I was even supposed to be there.
Hmm.
Because it was quite challenging. Like I was wondering, am I supposed to do something before I get here to remove the spell and then
Yeah,
reverse this? Turns out, that wasn't the case. You
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 have
did have
to.
to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because then you get to the lava caves, which has one of the pig bags that you need. And you can't get through the lava cave at that point, I don't think, but you get like the bag early on, I
mhm.
believe. So that
The lava cave was another very difficult
yeah,
platforming part,
that was. Yeah, you had to
and
use the grapple a lot on that,
yeah,
which
and
added another yet another element.
so the grapple helped you latch on to platforms basically, and you can
Yeah.
pull yourself up and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then the parasol, right?
Yeah, I got that and used that.
That one was
Uh,
pretty clutch.
it was
Yeah.
clutch, but it also when you if you there were times where I just left it on, and when you're trying to just do like it very difficult to like jump on enemies the way you want with
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
on.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
like
that was another item that was kind of very useful in certain parts, but
yeah,
it wasn't something you were going to keep on the whole
Yeah,
game for
right.
sure.
But like for some areas, you can just,
Yeah.
you can jump from a high spot and
Yeah.
basically just scale the whole
Yeah.
level.
Right, yeah, which was cool. I did use that in the Stormy Mountain after I got it.
Yeah, but after the curse is lifted, then that part becomes kind of cool because you kind of could reach more plate areas,
Mm-hmm.
the mountain,
Yeah.
and then there's different characters and different secret like kind of doors and items and stuff. So I thought it was cool to go back.
Yeah, and then just sort of as a gameplay point, what I was playing, there was so if you lose all your lives, the game restarts. Now, to combat that, you can save at any time there is a sign, indicating what the name of the level is. And there were that was very frequent. So you could save a lot, and you would have to just like reload your save in order to not have to start the whole game over because you lost all your lives. And that was pretty legitimate. I think you guys had a little bit more of like a cheapishness with what you were playing on.
Yeah, they added sort of a rewind function. So there were a few times when I died like 4 times in 1 minute on some platforming. So at that point, I was like, I don't want to lose my whole game. So I just rewinded.
The modern audiences.
It was good because that's very punishing starting the game over, but it kind of just added another element of just, make sure you get to your save points and save strategically, at least in the original version. So
Yeah,
I
as
can
long as you're
appreciate.
aware, as
Yeah,
long as you're aware of it,
yeah,
it's really not a problem because this save points are frequent and you're calling them levels, but it's really just a map, and you're kind of keep
yeah,
going back and forth between the different
Yeah,
areas. So you could
yeah.
kind of
right.
I mean, a key part of this game is going back and
yeah.
forth between all the areas, not knowing
Yeah.
where you're going, and just
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So you could
stumbling
you
upon.
could even
so,
even if you had to go out of your way a little bit, especially at first,
yeah.
to find a save point, like you would do it.
So that's sort of another genre. This is it has a Metroidvania component to it.
Mm.
Yeah, I was thinking that too earlier.
All right, let's go to our mid-episode filler. We have a lot of polling responses for our question last week about Klonoa, and we'll do that and then come back to the episode. All right, so last week we discussed Klonoa, Door to Phantomile in our first of our 2.5D category, and we asked a trivia question as opposed to a would you rather this time, just because it's so ambiguous as to what kind of animal Klonoa was or is. So we asked, what animal is Klonoa? And the options were fox, cat, and rabbit. And we had some good polling responses on our social media, X and Instagram, at Bros Boss Battles. And with over 60% of the vote was cat. The runner-up after that was rabbit, with fox coming in last. And it's good to see because we do believe through research that the actual answer is cat. So very good to those that guessed cat or knew cat and voted accordingly. Thank you for that participation. You win a gold star and pats on the back from us here at Brothers and Boss Battles. So again, catch us on our social media at Bros Boss Battles. That's on Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We also have our website, brothersandbossbattles.com. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast. All right, back to the regular episode where we're discussing Tomba. All right, back to Tomba, guys. Where did we leave off before the mid-episode filler? I forgot.
I think we were talking about an awesome video game.
Yes, generally we were.
Yeah, but there were some things that weren't so awesome about the game.
Ooh,
So someone brought up Grim Fandango before,
I
and
did.
at times I felt that this was a little bit like that, where you're kind of,
Awesome.
no, on the contrary, where
Yeah,
you're wandering around a lot and not sure where to go or what to do, and you just have to kind of like run through the levels and, or not levels, but run through the different areas of the game and click on stuff and hope something triggers an event or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you with that assessment. And actually, so part of the problem is a lot of times you don't really know what events are mandatory and which are not. So that creates confusion right there. But there was a couple of times where I referenced a walkthrough, and even in doing that, like I didn't know where to go in the walkthrough just because you may trigger events at different time than someone else playing the game. And like I said, you don't really know, right, kind of the natural order you're supposed to be triggering them, which ones are mandatory, which ones are optional. So it was hard even to like identify where at what point of the game you are to go reference a walkthrough.
Yeah. Yeah, one instance that I recall, so it has to do with the Haunted Mansion, of course, because that's the most
Because
annoying
of
part of the
course,
game. So like, I unlocked the room where the pig was, but I did it before I had the pig bag.
Hmm.
So like I didn't like that may have been like the first or second one. So like I didn't really know that I had to go back there once I got the bag
Yeah.
in order to
I
actually,
fight him.
engage the boss. So it's just like, I don't know. I just felt like it was never really clear. And
You know,
like
they
even the other ones, sorry, uh, even like the other bosses, sometimes I would just be like, oh, like it would just be like random, like the portal would appear or the door or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Like I would never
yeah.
actively seeking it out, I felt.
Yeah, it really. So they do explain that the bags are in like places where the spells were caused, and like that would be different. But it might have been cooler if they sort of had more clues as to where the pig portals were. The thing is, like, it's not. It's like sort of a map, but it's not a huge map, so you can kind of traverse through. Um, Look, I used a little bit of a walkthrough, especially for later on in the game, just because I was trying to get it done for the podcast. I kind of wish that I had played this back in the day or had more time now to kind of not use the walkthrough, because I do feel like you don't need the walkthrough.
I
Like
also
you,
agree with that. It's not
yeah,
like Grim Fandango in
no,
that
well, not Grim
regard.
Fandango,
It's like Grim
but
Fandango Light.
no, but I'm talking like. I haven't played it in a while, so maybe it's different. And it was like when I was younger and needed more help. But like there were things, and I'm just gonna bring up Final Fantasy VII, even though this has nothing to do with anything, that like I feel I never ever in a million years would have been able to figure out but for having a walkthrough. Like getting the Knights of the Round summons or like some of the
Yeah, but
other.
that's not mandatory.
No, I know, but like there's just like things in some games where it's like I don't think I'm ever going to figure this out without help. Whereas Tomba, if you give me enough time, or anyone enough time, I think you will come across like even if it involves talking to every character in every part of the map, and you happen to on your last character talk to the right person, like you're gonna figure it out.
I agree with that too. Yeah, depending on how much time you want to devote to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe not like every single event, but the majority.
yeah. And
Yeah.
certainly the
So
ones to beat the game. But yeah,
Yeah,
but so like I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted because it's like that is annoying, but I think it's just annoying because like I'm busy with work and family and life and everything, and like
yeah,
like if I had played this when I was 15, it might have been different.
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
fair.
totally agree with that. So we mentioned how And this actually reminded me of Banjo-Kazooie, but like
but
the
good.
pig bags. So this is not
Yeah,
a great thing. The pig bags are in a certain location, but then the
yeah,
portals are in a different
right.
location where
I
they're
thought
in,
that too.
right. And that was kind
I
of
thought
like,
it too, but it didn't annoy me like even
yeah,
a scintilla of the amount that Banjo-Kazooie did. It just was like, I don't know, it was just a lot easier to get around. Like, and
yeah,
you get what was cool is like you open shortcuts to other parts of the map from another part of the map that previously didn't have that shortcut. So by the end of the game, you really can maneuver quickly through everything. And not to mention, you can unlock, find these things called charity wings that will allow you to go to any stage you've already been to. And those are limited. But then there's also each 100, 1,000, 10,000, each, one of those old men give you a bell that will bring you directly to where they are in a particular stage. So that shrinks the map a little bit because you're not necessarily starting from the same place every time. And then the third thing, which I actually did without a guide and sort of accidentally, was complete one of these side events to obtain this flying dog called Baron, and he basically acts as like an unlimited charity wing where you can use him to go to any level or any part of the map that you've already been to if infinitely.
yeah.
So
I think that's a mandatory one, right? Because you need him at the end of the game,
oh
Baron.
really? Oh no, I don't think getting Baron is.
Okay, well, I mean,
I
I
think he might.
maybe
I do know he's at the end of the game, but he might just appear if you don't actually get him.
oh, okay, that I'm not sure about.
Yeah, if anyone knows, let us know.
Well, we can look it up easily.
you probably get him way earlier though, right?
Oh, so you guys did get Baron. I thought you guys didn't get him.
No, I got
I
him.
I think maybe I got him at near the end. I don't really
Uh,
recall. I never really used those charity wings anyway, so like I wouldn't
Yeah.
really know if I had them or not, to be
mm,
honest.
You made a good point with the bell though, because the bells, because I use those a lot to
yeah.
get to the old man, even if I didn't want to talk to him, just to get closer
Yeah,
to where I needed to
right.
be.
So
Yeah.
those were, not that we're comparing this to Banjo-Kazooie, but those are
Yeah.
significant upgrades getting around the map than
Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie had.
Yeah. So I think the hints to where the pig portals were came from. There's two fortune tellers
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
game.
but that was just nonsense.
Yeah, those are hard. I noticed
I
that
think one or
too.
two were useful, and
Yeah.
some of them were,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, nonsense.
Those are tough.
Yeah. It was kind of like, you're just going around the map trying to figure things out, or just because you had all these events open, and
Yeah.
eventually you would discover them.
Yeah, most of them were
Yeah.
fine, but there was, I go back to the Haunted Mansion again because it was in one specific
Yeah.
door, so you have to
Yeah.
go through every single door in the mansion again.
But I wanted to explore every door in the mansion. Like
Me
I
too, but not 7 times.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Did you guys do like, I guess in the lava caves, is you just talk about specific events. The
The
thief,
thief? Yeah.
yeah,
I did that one.
and it was like
I didn't.
it was a little silly. You find him, and then you have to bring him back some
The
item
thing
that he
he's
stole. Yeah, the
right.
thing he stole, and then he like leaves it.
Yeah. So that
So
part
you have
I
to like
did have
leave and go back, and then it's
yeah.
there without him.
I had to use a guide for that though.
Yeah,
Like because like you find the thing, you find him, you give him the thing. You then find out he leaves it where you gave it to him. So you have to wind up going back to the lava cave and then go to the haunted mansion where he is, like near that chimney. Yeah, so that
yeah.
was annoying.
So then you find him in the haunted mansion. Then he gives it to his boss, who's in a different room in the haunted mansion. And then you go into that room, and the boss is like, "Oh, I lost it. Well, if you find it, you could keep it." And it's in the treasure chest right next to the boss in that
Yeah,
same room.
but you
Like
can
that was
get it.
like, yeah, and you could get it, and you don't do it. You don't do anything with it, but you clear the event. But like, so that's an example of where like I just feel like the game was rushed at the end. Like especially with the boss losing it, and it's right in the chest, literally right
Yeah,
next to him.
I think that's meant to be funny-ish.
Oh,
Like to
uh,
be honest, I don't think whatever. Um, Yeah, there was the one I sort partially completed but didn't fully complete, where it's like you make candy with the witch Mizuno. I that one I didn't complete, but like I was like halfway through it. I had
That's
like some of the ingredients, but not all of them, basically.
that was another one where like I think you need like 6 ingredients and 4 of them are in chests in that last like underground
Yeah.
maze thing,
Hmm.
which I think seems like it was slopped together.
I know we're not at the end, but would you want to do stats now, or do you want to
Yeah,
wait to the very end?
nah, we could do it now since you brought it up. And actually, I was thinking about it because
I love how
you.
bringing something up is an automatic. You get to talk about it in this podcast. That's
I don't want.
I should never ask for permission for anything then.
I don't want the scenario where we end up like forgetting to talk about something we said we're going to talk about, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
there's a revolt.
I feel I feel like stats though we're always like very keen on
Yeah.
talking about. But yeah,
So
let's go.
anyway, so I did get Baron. I 100% of the game. I did use a walkthrough for a little bit of it.
Oh, you
Um,
did. Oh,
yeah,
oh, nice.
I was just really. I just couldn't help myself. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't leave an event outstanding,
yeah.
without clearing it.
Before I go into there was one that was sort of annoying. You had to get like 5 golden plated items to do
Yeah.
something with. That was like tough and annoying. Like I had a few of them, but I didn't get all 5.
Yeah, so I think the event you were just talking about with the witch, I think she might give you
Yeah.
a gold one. And then did you guys do like that race, the motocross racing thing track?
I did not. I did come across it in the walkthrough.
Oh, okay.
Well, but I didn't. But I didn't do it.
Like,
I did it, but I didn't get first, like the
oh,
top.
okay.
Uh, There's
3 levels.
3 events, right?
Yeah, yeah,
One's for coming in third, second, first, or
yeah.
something.
And actually, there's a problem with that one because if you come in second or first before you come in third, for example, then you can't get the bronze medal basically
Uh,
ever.
Oh
So
wow.
like you kind of, I got lucky because I didn't know that,
I was gonna
but
say, do they tell you that, or it's like
no, they don't. I don't.
they
They
just
don't
want
tell
you
you
to
that.
improve a little bit each time, like
Yeah.
and
So actually, yeah, that's true. I shouldn't say I got lucky. Maybe it's just natural that most people are gonna first get
yeah.
bronze, then silver,
Hmm.
then gold. You know.
I got silver on my first.
Oh, okay.
Woo!
But like,
I
so
So,
didn't
but
know.
if
I
you
never
get,
really knew what I was doing. It was kind of
do you only get like one shot per trying to get each like
no, no. You
place,
keep
or,
no, you keep racing as many times as you want.
but you have to go in like backwards order essentially. Like you
Yeah,
have to get third place first, then second place, and then first.
yeah. If you want to clear the
You're right.
all
Yeah.
the events, yeah.
That's pretty whack.
So that
Yeah.
gold, that
That's
anyway, that gold medal was another one of those gold items. But no, but that is that racing thing. That's like an example of something that's really cool because you kind of see that cart, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
like early
Yeah.
in the game, and
Oh,
then late. Right,
that's the one that's powered by wine. Isn't there like a cart that looks like? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something
no,
else. There's a cart
that
that one of the guys is working on where you have to do another event to get wine to make it like move.
I don't think so. I think you
Hmm.
get fuel, an item
Oh,
called fuel
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
But anyway, you see that at the beginning of the game, then you come back to it near the very end of the game, and it's kind of just a little side thing where racing. I think that's really cool. Now the race itself is very lame.
Mm.
Speaks to the
And
game.
the other one that I came across just in reading, but didn't like. I like started doing it, but didn't want to do it like to completion. Was the one where you have to step on all of those like the pumps to
The
like
pump rocks, yeah.
yeah to give nutrition to that old tree or whatever.
That was another stupid one.
Yeah, because I just felt like there was gonna be one I missed in some random spot in some random level, and I was just like, eh.
Yeah. And I think they may change color a little bit
Oh,
if once you
really?
step
I
on
didn't
them.
notice that.
I didn't know that until after I read that somewhere. So like I had to go back and
Mm.
jump on all of them, even though I probably only didn't jump on one of them.
I didn't like how this game, and not to do comparisons, but compared to Klonoa, where like after you beat it, that was it. Like you couldn't, there was no like saving and then go back and clear up stuff. Like you
Yeah.
had to do it before you beat the game.
Yeah, I hate when games do that.
I
Yeah.
agree because I actually wanted to
Yeah.
be able to reload my save and do more events, but it didn't give me that option, so I
Yeah.
just said forget it.
Yeah. I didn't want to like go back and like prior to me beating the last boss and do everything. And so I was just,
Yeah, because
that was
I
a bit, that
hadn't
was a missed opportunity.
I hadn't saved for a while before the last boss, so
Hmm.
there was like a bunch of events that I cleared before the last boss. And then if I had to reload that save, I would have to redo all those again, as as well as the ones I missed. So I
Yeah.
opted not to.
Interesting little tidbit. Like right where you go into the door to face that last boss, there's like a sign to save right there. But like once you open it, like it pulls you in, and I hadn't saved, and I was like, oh no. If I wind up like losing to this last boss of the game enough times where it's like I have to like reload a save from like way prior, I'd be like so annoyed. But that's when I kind of did the Eli Manning and got him in like the second try. So I was like, phew. All right. So we digressed from what we started this segment on, but our stats from the game. And what I mean from stats is our playtime, the events found, and the events cleared. And just for the listeners again, there are 130 events of varying different complexities and lengths in this game. So I'll go first since I'm talking and droning on. I my playtime was 7 hours and 38 minutes. Keep in mind, as I mentioned, I did use a walkthrough, particularly in the latter quarter of the game, which there's a part which would otherwise probably take pretty long. And I'm referencing the Seven Friends section of the game. So I would take that playtime with a grain of salt. Like a regular playthrough would take, I would say at least another hour or two longer than that. Um, I found 112 events and I completed 102 out of the 130.
That's not bad. But do you feel like you played the game for 7.5 hours, or do you feel like you
I
feel
think I
like that's
played
not
longer.
you? Yeah.
It might
Okay.
not count like when you reload. I don't know how it counts
I don't know
that.
how it counts either because my game said 10.5 hours, but I think I played 20 hours.
Mm.
And I mentioned
Oh, you
I did
completed.
a
So you
130. Yeah.
Mine was playtime 8 hours, 19 minutes. Found 114 events and completed 97.
Oh wow, I beat you. Did you use a walkthrough at all? Very little.
Not, yeah, the ending that you mentioned with the friends I did, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. That was also very,
I
very
I
dumb.
see. I thought that was cool, and again, I wish I could have just been playing this without like a deadline or whatever. But I could see that without a walkthrough being very annoying.
And first of all, they weren't people that like. It wasn't like Charles or like people that you met along the way. It was
Well,
like
you did
random.
meet. No, you. Well, they were NPCs that you could talk to all of them though throughout the game. There was one of the dwarfs in the dwarf village. It was the guy
Yeah,
with
the
the
nameless
Yeah, but it was
ones.
the guy standing outside of that like the Y
The Y
section where
cross.
Y crossing.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if these people existed before that or not,
No, they.
but
I'm pretty sure they did.
okay. But anyway, they
Yeah,
didn't have they were like the nameless ones. Meanwhile, you
yeah,
meet a lot of cool characters that are more
yeah.
prevalent. But
Right.
so that's one thing. It's not a big deal. But you need 7 friends, you're told, and then there's 6 of them. And now you're stuck looking for the seventh over like going to each area multiple times. Eventually, you're going to give up and I guess go back to the room that you need those 7 friends
Yeah,
for.
that's a good
And
point.
then like that was
I didn't think of
was
that because I
so
used the
weak.
walkthrough for that, but yeah, yeah.
I
So
I
two
did
things to
too,
your
but I was trying to. At first, I was not using a
yeah.
walkthrough, and I couldn't find the 7th friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. You found six because it really is a thing where it's not distinguishable who the friend is versus who's the random NPC. So it's like you may literally have to talk to every single character in the game to
Yeah,
get those six. And then yeah, the point about the seventh is a little annoying because what happens, spoiler alert, is that you go back after getting the six friends and Baron the dog acts as your seventh friend. So but you're not going to get him out in the wild, so to speak. So it's like you have to really get six and then go to where you have to go, even though you're told you have to get seven and then go where you have to go. So yeah, that could be annoying.
Yeah, it's misleading.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of NPCs, but I feel like they're pretty concentrated.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not too bad.
like in the
And
Mushroom Forest, there aren't any. In
mhm,
that first area, whatever that was called, Village of Beginnings or whatever,
yeah, of all
there
beginnings.
aren't any. So
Yeah,
you didn't
yeah, you
necessarily have
get
to go
three.
everywhere.
It's true. You get three right at the Y crossing.
Yeah, which is kind
Yeah,
of lame too.
and then you get it's the dwarf, um, the guy who's like caught one of those one-eyed monsters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's in the lumberjack yard
yeah,
or whatever they
right.
call
Yeah,
that.
and then there's I forget the other one.
Yeah, me too. So I was reading it. It seems like the Baron events were non-mandatory, so he probably does just appear at
Yeah,
the end if
yeah. I will. You know what's funny? I actually thought that you only needed six because the old man at that point does say something that like sort of was like I thought it was gonna be him who acted as the
uh
seventh man. Of course, as I mentioned a few other times, that whole section I used a walkthrough. So what might take other people like an hour and a half took me like maybe 10 minutes,
yeah.
especially because I had Baron. So I was literally able to zip to everywhere exactly where I had to go and then just was done with it.
Yeah, if he hinted at something needing six, I didn't catch it.
Yeah. So, what about the music?
Ooh, yeah. I really this might be like the best music in any video game I've ever played. I really think it's fantastic.
Damn, you really need to expand your horizons.
It was good though.
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
like the intro, that little sort of jungle theme, and then little ditties throughout the various levels. I thought it was good.
The music in the underground maze was my favorite.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was good.
really good. Yeah.
I think my favorite was Bacchus Village.
I don't
Why?
know. Maybe I had like the volume too loud, but that one got really annoying for me.
Oh man, I don't remember it specifically
Was that
being.
kind of like an accordion or something?
It was I thought maybe more like a fluty, but it could have maybe it was accordion. Yeah, but like I mentioned earlier, I also really like the boss battles music. Except for the
Yay!
last one. But even like the beginning, the village of all beginnings, dwarf village, they're all it was really all great. I thought.
And then like controls, we talked about gameplay, but the controls were, you jump on them and throw them. You could use your weapon. Um, I thought again some of the hitboxes were a little like less than perfect, but not bad. You can hold down, I guess it's the X button. Oh no, the square button on the PlayStation controller, and it's that would make you like speed burst.
Yeah, and also we didn't mention, but throughout the game you get like items, pants that make you
Yeah,
run faster and jump
right,
higher.
right. The parasol we mentioned would let you glide. Different weapons.
Yeah, so
Um,
I mean, there's a ton of items in this game. So
mhm.
like navigating through your item
Yeah, brutal.
inventory was pretty brutal. It was slow and there's just pages and pages of it. And
Yeah.
there was
They
like
let
no
you
order
sort
to
it
it.
though. No, they
But
let
like,
you sort it to like weapons to like.
Yeah, but
yeah,
you never know which one you're gonna need at what
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was,
Yeah, the menu was really slow.
yeah, that was my biggest complaint, just
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah, like like you mentioned equipping and unequipping the parasol. Sometimes I would just leave it equipped even though I didn't want it because I didn't feel like going to the menu to
Yeah,
unequip it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you couldn't like press select and that would like unequip like the most, let's say, recently equipped item but I don't know. I didn't find it incredibly bad because it wasn't like an action game per se. Like I didn't, I don't know. It's not like where I needed a quick exchanges. It would have been nice, and it's certainly a valid point, but I don't know. It didn't ruin it too much for me.
That would have been a good quality of life improvement
Yeah.
for the whatever ports,
yeah,
whatever they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
I wonder, do you know any of the achievements or trophies for the Oh, you played on Switch. But Tom,
I play
yeah,
on Switch.
and they for some reason do not have things like trophies or achievements. But Tom, any interesting ones? I'm assuming that like completing the whole game is one of them.
I feel like I was reading something about this that
Yeah.
there wasn't anything
Yeah,
particularly interesting.
not interesting. Hold on, let me pull it up.
So in the meantime, I'll mention like just even the event. Did you guys do the event where the barrel rolls?
No, I didn't do that one. Again, came across that but didn't do it.
So pretty early, and I don't know. Some people might think this is lame. I think this is kind of cool. But very early on in the game, there's like this one. Essentially, it's a barrel with spikes, and it's kind of rolling down a thing, and it could hit you, and it rolls back and forth. But if you hit that barrel a few times, then the spikes fall off, which is great, 'cause then you can't get hit by it. Then if you hit it again, it kind of just rolls into the water.
Hmm.
And then very much later in the game, you see it underwater, and then you clear that event.
Oh,
But just
nice.
like I don't know, just like things like that where it kind of come full circle. I just found so cool about the game.
Yeah. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention, which I thought was cool, was that um, Whoopee Camp, the creator, developer of this game, was started by Takuro Fujiwara, who was from Capcom and worked on a lot of big Capcom games. And essentially, the only games that Whoopee Camp made were Tomba and Tomba 2, at least as far as my research
I
shows.
think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I don't think this game had a huge success.
It wasn't successful.
And then it sort of gained that cult following that we've seen with some of the other games that exist and that we've even covered on this podcast. Like Earthbound being one and, a few others. So like I find that interesting because I don't know, like I came into this skeptical, but I wound up really enjoying this game. And I feel like this is a game that would have been successful back then, so I'm just surprised it wasn't.
Especially since it was included in all the demo discs.
Yeah.
It's probably too unique for some people.
Yeah.
I do think a relatively low budget shows in the game though. Like I really feel there are some things that are kind of like, oh well, that's a little
Like the menu,
not polished, you know.
like the inventory.
Yeah, like that, I guess. Is one thing. So Tom, were there any interesting
No,
achievements
not really.
or
They did
trophies?
have the one for getting the 5 gold items. That's a trophy, but
Mm.
yeah, nothing too cool.
I'm sure they're all related to events.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were the ones for capturing the pigs, which are the ones that you would
Oh, okay. Yeah.
obviously get regardless. Maximum obtainable health bars.
Oh, the 8
Oh.
vitality.
Yeah, so
think-
that's another interesting thing. You could gain more health as you go along. They're in chests, or you find them somewhere, or maybe you get them from clearing an event. And then there's also an event that you have to do. I think that was the one where you have to find. Was his name Jan? He's playing hide and seek, and you have to find him like a handful of times. I think if you find him all the times, then he basically you can double your max health. Assume if you acquire those vitality maxes along the way.
Hmm.
I think that was the event, but there's an event that you have to clear to do that. Another thing I wanted to bring up, another kind of event or multiple events, was remember the prisoner in the dwarf village?
Yeah.
That was also kind of like
Oh yeah, I talked to him, but I didn't like get to free him or something. Or you had to light the torch, and I didn't
Yeah.
know like how to do that.
oh
Did you like? I think I tried to use the fire thing power, and that wasn't it.
That
And then
didn't
I
work?
maybe that was it, and I didn't have it at that point. I just thought about it, but like didn't use it. Or didn't have it to use at that point. I don't remember.
yeah, but then you free him, but then he ends up like getting back again, and then another time you go down, and he's down there, but not in the cell, and then you have to race him up the watchtower. Did you guys do that?
No.
Like
Yeah.
that was another thing that was kind of just seemed very unpolished.
Yeah.
That was actually a
like-
trophy for
Oh,
beating him.
okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I just thought that was a weird sequence of events in the game that didn't kind of fit in or make a sense.
For this week's mid-episode filler Would You Rather question, we are focusing on Tomba and some of the special events you have to do in the game. And we've decided to ask the fans, what would you rather of these 3 special events? Would you rather assist in healing Baron, the dog, to get not only the companionship of man's best friend, but also the ability to have him essentially teleport you wherever you need to go. Help your monkey friend Charles get his pants back so that he will provide you with parasol so you could glide all over the place and teach you how to swim. Or C, do all of the pump rock tasks to give sufficient nutrition to the Tree of Knowledge. So the Tree of Knowledge would in turn provide you with the answers to any questions you may ask. The poll will be up on Instagram and X at Bros Boss Battles. Vote there. Visit us at our website, brothersandbossbattles.com. Check us out on YouTube or Twitch. And make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast. All right, back to the Tomba main episode, and coming up are our final thoughts. All right, we just had a Tomba question there. Anything else on the main game discussion before we give our final thoughts of Tomba?
I mean, there was some interesting things I read about, kind of things that were left out of the game, and I think it's pretty accepted, or at least by the fans, that it really does appear that the game was kind of rushed at the end, and like they had to cut a lot of things. So there was other areas that were cut late in development. One in particular was interesting, was like that whole area near like that Y crossing
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be much, much bigger,
Ah,
right by the watchtower. Yeah.
yeah. I'm kind of glad it wasn't, but
I don't know. I wish there was 100 more events in this game. But so that's one. And then another thing that's interesting, you guys probably didn't notice it, but there's two kind of stone tablets with little like dots or markings. So one of them is in the haunted mansion. It's like a rectangular.
oh yeah, it almost looked like a draw, like a rectangle
Yeah,
with a handle.
yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
noticed that one, and I was like,
And there's one other one like right before you go into Dwarf Village, I think.
okay. I don't think I caught that one, but okay. So those
So
didn't do anything, right? But were they
they didn't
supposed
do
to?
anything, but seems like there was intent for there to be six of those and some kind of puzzle around
Hmm.
dealing with them. There's
Hmm.
a lot of stuff online that you could read about that. That would have been cool.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I won't bore everybody with all these little things, but there's tons of items and stuff that was left out too. And I imagine to some extent this happens in all video games where there's things that maybe there's intent to include certain things, and then, maybe not because of a time constraint, just because of change in direction of the game.
It's interesting how like the old games, I guess maybe it was more time extensive to take those things out completely. But like there's all these remnants of old stuff where I don't know
Yeah.
if there's necessarily that in new games. Like they might just like be able to more easily remove that whole portion completely. Like we've seen that in like Donkey Kong 64 or like
Yeah, you're right. You're
other
right.
games,
Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah, a lot in that. Now this, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like you remove something and then the whole game like bu- bugs
Doesn't
out.
work anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for those tidbits, Pete. You're always there for these development tidbits.
you're welcome. And there's one other concept I wanted to get your guys' opinion on, because really, when you think about it, the game gets easier as you go. Because when you start the game, basically all the areas are under this curse. And so, the mountain is windy and it's harder to traverse, or the haunted mansion has more villains, the jungle, Muscari jungle. So it's like as you start clearing those curses, the game gets easier, which is
Yeah.
not great, I guess, for a game. Usually it should start off easy and get more difficult. I don't know if you guys like kind of noted that as you were playing.
I mean, it's true because it's not just what you just pointed out, but as I mentioned earlier, the shortcuts between the portions of the world keep opening up. So you're
Right.
now able, and you can get Baron, and you have more charity wings if you don't have Baron. So it's like it's easier to get around, it's easier to traverse.
Yeah, but there's more places to go to.
Yeah,
So it
that's
gets
true.
like more complicated from that perspective, even though like actually navigating is easier.
Yeah, that's true. Although I have to say, from the more complicated perspective, I also felt I was more confused in the first half of the game than I was in the second half. Like the first half, there was a couple of times where I really was like, how do I
Yeah,
trigger the next event?
I
Like,
think I had the same experience too. At
yeah,
first, I was feeling that it was more Grim Fandango-y than towards the end.
yes, that scene. So
It's
it's
an
just something
edge.
interesting I wanted to point out that I felt about the
Yeah,
game.
yeah. I mean, and we even pointed out that like the bosses weren't necessarily they didn't necessarily scale up from like easiest to hardest.
Yeah,
So you don't even
yeah,
necessarily have that.
you're
Though a
right.
couple of those ending pigs were just the way the bags were placed were precarious. So that made it a little bit more difficult. But I wouldn't necessarily say that like it would from 1 through 8 was the order of difficulty of those pigs. So yeah, it's another good point. In a way, it's almost like you get rewarded though for getting through the hard parts, and then it like becomes easy rather than just like the standard formula of it always has to keep increasing in difficulty until it ends.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And there was maybe it made the game a lot more enjoyable to kind of try to figure everything out, all the events and stuff,
Yeah,
in the latter half of the game.
right. Yeah, because theoretically, I would think people would be trying to do the cleanup events like towards the
Right.
end of the game, and having it being easy to traverse makes that more fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Whereas the beginning, you're kind of just playing the game and like doing the things you have to do.
And then just on the remake or whatever they're calling it. So there was a couple of cool, or some people might find them cool. Like they did have a museum option, and
Hmm.
they just had some like original artwork and like advertisements, from magazines or whatever. So that could be cool to some people.
Yeah. I know real major replay value. I mean, there's replay value in the sense you may want to play again to get like complete it. Having just these non-mandatory events, I think, contributes to replay value.
Tom does it.
The age-old debate.
No, I don't. I
Uh,
other than the fact that the game is fun, I don't know if it's replay value.
Yeah, we mentioned that that's sort of hindered by the fact that you can't save at the end and then like go back and do your things. So
But I will say this just so we can make one more comparison to Grim Fandango. But after playing Grim Fandango, I really felt like I was going to have to not play that game for 20 years before I could play it again. Like, I just feel like I would remember a lot of the
hmm
solutions. Tomba, I feel like I don't have to wait that long before I could play it again and still kind of feel like a lot of the things I don't quite remember for what that's worth
yeah.
in the context of replay.
hmm
But then also in this latest version, they have like a music player, so you could play the music for any of the different parts, and you could actually toggle between the original music and the new music, which was I felt pretty true to the original, but just kind of enhanced in a little, made a little bit more fuller sounding or whatever.
Yeah, remastered.
Yeah,
was it just remastered or did they change it?
the
'Cause
music.
yeah, I played with the original
Oh, did you?
music.
No, I think it was changed.
Oh, okay.
It was the same song, but like maybe they added
Yeah,
another
yeah.
instrument in the
Right,
background or
right,
something,
Mm.
kind of thing. For the most part, I don't know if that's true of every single song in the game, but for the most part, it was the same song, but a little better, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. All right then. Final thoughts? Who wants to start us off?
I'll start. I think that this is a good game and a unique enough game where people should play it. So I'm gonna recommend it. And now it's accessible for everyone, given that it's been re-released on modern consoles. And something that I like about this re-release actually is that they essentially kept it very much the same, the game. So, it's not like, they're adding checkpoints all over the place and stuff like that. So you're pretty much getting the authentic experience, I feel, by playing this game, by playing the remaster. Yeah, and it's just, it's there are frustrating times, but I think that they are not plentiful enough to detract from playing the game. And yeah, I mean, you don't really get games like this anymore. And even like, I don't even think there were games like this back then. So, um, yeah, definitely worth playing. Give it a hard recommend.
Yeah, I'll go next. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this game. My brothers had kind of made it seem like there were times where they thought I would think it was like maybe a slog to get through. Um, and I didn't really feel that. I mean, using a walkthrough at times aside, but like just even when I played, and I did play most of this without a walkthrough. Um, it just was really fun and unique, and I really recommend this. And I had mentioned in the Klonoa episode, I'm not a huge platformer fan, and wound up liking Klonoa, and I wound up liking this because this has a lot of different elements besides the platforming to it. And these 2.5Ds are pretty fun actually. So they added a lot. So this has the platforming, the action, some sort of basic puzzles. Pete mentioned some racing that, in some special events that you're not required to play, but there's that in it as well. Um, just thought it was really good, and I would certainly recommend it, and particularly because it is on new consoles, so it's easy to access now. Just try to play without using that rewind function, and you'll get a really good experience, really good true experience.
Yeah, so I really love this game. It really is one of a kind, and I think any gamer absolutely should play this game. So I'll get that out of the way right here. I absolutely recommend. Um, so yeah, I mentioned I had played the demo a lot. I just had this fascination with this game, never played it, and then I ended up buying it on the PlayStation 3. Also, never got around to playing it. Then the first day that this remake came out, I bought the game on the Switch and didn't end up playing it until a year later. So it had a lot of expectation to live up to for me personally, and it lived up to all of it and more, to be honest. I really couldn't put it down on like I just wanted to 100% it. I couldn't leave an event uncleared. So please go play this game.
All right, there you have it. There is Tomba. Thank you, Pete and Tom. Thank you, me. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Check us out on Instagram and X at Bros Boss Battles, also on Twitch sometimes and YouTube, where you've been posting more reels there. So hopefully you've been enjoying those as well. Catch us on our website, brothersandbossbattles.com. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast. Next week, we will be finishing up our 2.5D categories, the category, before the Bro Down a few weeks after that. So make sure to listen. Again, like and subscribe so you get notice when that episode is out. And we hope to see you then. All right, till next time, take care, everyone.